that is why Margot is here today. I think I've circulated a link to the poem we're going to discuss. I'll try to show it on my screen if that's okay, Margot. And it's over to you then.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Right, it's been a while since I had such a big audience. Let's see how it goes. So, what are we going to do today is nothing much, really. We're going to look at a little poem, a little and a happy poem, and see what it can tell us. Sergey was speaking about authentic material. Well, just remember, the only thing you really need to remember that the only authentic material is you. So whatever comes into you, whatever falls into your hands, it comes through you. You make it alive, whether it's a textbook or a poem or something else. It makes no sense on its own. It only makes sense for you. You are the authentic material. So what do we do? When we, okay, maybe I should say a few words about slow reading, or some people say creative reading. So do you have any ideas of the slow reading notion? Yes or no?
Yes.
Maybe. Mm-hmm. Right, so we talk about modern technologies and modern ways of education, but really it comes from your imagination, it comes from amusement. That's how it came in the first place, because lots of people discuss poetry. They discuss it at universities, institutes, schools, different kinds of lessons. Well, usually what happens is they take a whole bunch of poetry and they go really quickly through it. And they say, okay, here's the interesting bit here, that's the interesting bit there, that's the new thing the poet brought us. Yeah, they just go through and through. And I feel like, wait a minute, why don't you go a bit deeper? You can go so much deeper in it. Yeah, instead of looking at 10 poems and commenting lightly on each of them, you can take one poem and really go into it. Well, it's really, really important to be able to slow down. Yes. Take your time. You can say it's a meditation in the sense that you switch off, or you create a little portal around yourself by going into poetry. Another historical background for it. I found out later about it, but it's really the thing. It's really connected. It's not that modern. In fact, it's from a very old Jewish tradition of reading texts, which is called midrash. Have anyone heard about midrash? Yes? No? No. What do they teach at school these days? Nothing at all. Oh, someone says yes. Good. Okay. Midrash means literally comment. When people come together, and obviously in the Jewish tradition, the Judaic tradition, that would be the discussion of some sacred text, like the Torah, Old Testament. People come and they see that some details are missing, some details don't make sense, and they try to go into it and fill it in with what it might mean, how it could be. Yeah, and that's called Beit Midrash, or the house of commentary. And the thing is, because you have commentary tradition in Christianity too. But in Christianity, it's really dogmatic. It's really dogmatic. Whether in this tradition, it's very open. So one person can say that way, Another person says, no, I think it's, you can explain it the other way. And their opinions would be opposite. Their stories will be completely different. But within the tradition says they're both true. The person who says that's black is true. The person who says it's white is true. Because any text, whether it's holy scripture or whether it's a little funny poem, any kind of object, let's say, has an infinite number of layers, so everyone can see a bit of it, so nobody is wrong. So when we do slow reading, then that's our idea as well. We can all have different opinions, so they're all correct, in the sense that we all see something that is authentic to us. Okay?
Okay.
Right. And to be more practical, how it happens. So first of all, I take poetry. You can take paintings, you can take short stories, you can take books, novels, whatever you like. But the great poetry is that it's short. So in the sense of a lesson, you don't have to give it as a homework, because you're never sure whether they read it or not. You can just read it as the lesson. You have the whole thing in front of you on one piece of paper. Again, it's important. When you look at it, you can see the whole thing. It's easier to work with it. And another moment is, if it's a poem, if it's short, then you can pay more attention to each detail. But if you look at a story, even if it's a short story, you'll be skipping lots of things. A poem is suppressed, it's condensed, let's say. So each word matters. Again, coming back to Midrash tradition, they look at each word. In the Jewish tradition, even deeper, because each letter is a number, and then they can do funny things with that, but we're not going to do that, obviously. But what they say is each word is important. If you see a word which is strange, which has strange grammar, a strange style, which sticks out like a sore thumb, then you pay extra attention to it. Because if it's in the text and it looks like it does not belong, then it draws your attention. It's meant to draw your attention. Then you ask yourself why. So much for the technical detail. We are not that much interested in the structures, such as the kind of rhyming or technical details. You can look at them too, they're good, but we don't focus on them much. We don't focus on the history. Historical background, again, might be interesting, might be good, but a poem is something universal, meaning whoever reads it, whenever reads it, whatever your background, it doesn't matter what you know, what you do not know. What you have is the piece of text in front of you and yourself, and something happens. Yeah, a person reads it, and it can be anyone. It can be some cleverist, an alchemist who reads it, or it can be a schoolboy or a schoolgirl who reads it. And the poem affects you. The background. The poem affects you differently, obviously, but it affects you still. And that is what's interesting. Yeah? How it happens, what is the magic? And by going into it, by looking at the details, we're not aiming at analyzing as such, but it's a good way of going into the poem, connecting with it. So the first thing you do to connect with it is you read it aloud, because all poetry is supposed to be read aloud. Reading not aloud is a very late invention. You're supposed to read it aloud. Then you can feel it on your tongue. You can feel what is happening inside it things which you might miss if you just look at it with your eyes. So today we have this poem, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. So I took it because it's really light, it's really bright, it's really famous. Do you know about this poem? Yes? No? Is it not the first time you see it? No, it's not the first time I see it. Yes, it's the first time I see it. Is there a poem? What do you think? No, they don't speak. They're little potatoes.
Some people respond in the chat, but you can just speak out or speak up for your rights to say something about the poem. First time.
Yeah, I can see the chat. I can see people's faces. So I can see your faces, so you can nod or you can shake your head if you don't want to speak. That's also good. So I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, commonly known as the Daffodils, is simply the most famous poem in English. It's considered to be the most easily the most easy to remember. So everybody knows it. It's a part of school program. It's like really, really super duper famous. And it's thanks to Wordsworth, who wrote it as that the daffodils. Who knows what a daffodil is? I know. I know. 1, 2, 3.
Flower.
Okay, some people know. Yeah, it's a kind of a flower.
Oh, it's a flower. I thought it was a small crocodile.
Yeah, a crocodile.
Crocodile.
Yeah. So thanks to Wordsworth, no, my cat is a bit funny. Thanks to Wordsworth, people started to pay attention to that flower, and now that flower is the symbol of Wales, for instance. It's cool. It's cool. So, what kind of a flower is it? Before we start reading, what kind of a flower is it?
It is a yellow flower, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember how it is in Russian. I only know like this in English.
Yeah, you can imagine it. Who else knows what it looks like? What it is? Okay.
Well, it's a flower. It can be yellow, fully yellow. It can be white and yellow, and usually it's like the first flowers to bloom in Russia, at least, like in May, something like this.
Yeah, good. So it's
some kind of narcissus.
Yeah, it's a kind of a narcissus, but what is the difference between a daffodil and a narcissus? Okay, a daffodil is a wildflower, but a narcissus is a garden flower. If you talk about Wordsworth, then he was a romantic poet in the sense of one of these people who started paying attention to wild nature. When you think about poetry, then lots of people suggest, it has to be about something big and deep and clever and important. Yeah, it has to be about death or love or a revolution or gods or something heavy. And he said, no, you know what? I can write about flowers. I can write about anything I like, really. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to have a clever idea or a clever deep thought in it. Sometimes beauty is sufficient. Because all you need is to show a moment of beauty. We are people, we are alive. We are not only interested in technical details of what is right and what is wrong. We enjoy beauty. And nature used to be a scary thing and a hostile thing to people. And enjoying wild nature was a really weird idea. Because the idea of the wild nature was, it's dangerous. It's not good for you. It can kill you. Those guys came around and they say, no, you can also appreciate it. So now what we're gonna do? I don't know if Zoom is any good at reading it aloud altogether, because I tried doing it on Skype once and it was horrible because it had that delay. Yeah. But you can still read it with me. It's really, really extra super duper pooper important to have it said, have it voiced, hearing it, feeling it. Yeah, so now we can see it. I wandered lonely as a cloud. Now I'm starting to read it, and you just read it. Even if I can't hear you, you can hear yourself. Okay. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye which is the blaze of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils.
Beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you come across a poem which is really, really famous and everybody loves it, like this one, the first question you ask yourself, why? What is so super special about it? What is so special about the poem that everybody likes it? How do I personally react to it? Do I like it? Do I not like it? And why? Yeah, in general, if you come across something, it doesn't matter what, maybe a poem, maybe a painting, maybe a person, and you like or you don't like very strongly, and then you ask yourself, interesting, why? Why do I like it? Why do I not like it? And then you learn, then you discover. So, what is your impression after reading it? You can write it in the chat or you can speak how it works.
May I start?
Yeah, please.
I think that the most special thing of this poem is that it is very beautiful. In very beautiful words, the author describes a very beautiful picture. And after I have read this poem, this picture appeared in my mind. And I even had the desire to paint such a picture, or to look at some photos of a similar picture, because I would love to see those golden daffodils that William Wordsworth had seen. I think that the main reason why this poem became so famous is that first, the author, used beautiful and clear words to describe this picture. And the second reason that he used a theme that is close to lots of people, because practically all the people love nature. Practically all the people love flowers. And this is one of the reasons why this poem became so popular.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, so the author pays attention to nature, you say in the comments. We can feel the freedom. Yeah, we can. And
we also could enjoy the mood of the poetry, so we can relate to and feel those pleasant enjoyment as
yeah,
well.
because there are lots and lots of poems about flower now, but not all of them are famous. Yeah, there is a thing like that in psychology, which is whenever you hear a good word, your brain reacts to it with a bit of happiness. So a good word is like everything connected to life, golden, shining, green, fresh. That's something that they use in advertisements. Yeah, if you listen to the what they're saying, it makes no sense, but it's composed of the happy words, and each time you hear a happy word, it makes you happy. So maybe it's a part of it, just technically, because you have lots of words like golden and the breeze, freshness, and what else? Twinkle, shining, dancing. All these words make us happy, and we have lots and lots of these words. But maybe there's more to it, because if it was just that, then anyone could write something like that, just by putting the right words into the pot. There's always a bit of magic to real poetry. Yeah, like Edgar Poe was analyzing his own Raven, and he says, well, it is famous because and this and that, but not really, because it never boils down just to technical details. There's always something else, because had it been just technical details, anyone could do it just mechanically, and that is not happening. Okay, yeah. Melodic, easy to read, and thus easy to remember. And I guess my personal opinion, how to know if it's real poetry, or if it's just words written and pretending to be a poem. First is, if you can remember it, if you can remember bits of it or the sense of it, then it's a good poem. And another bit is, it's visual. You can feel it, you can see it. It makes you want to paint it, as Xenia said. It does, yeah. If it makes you want to do something, then obviously it's a good poem. A good poem, changes you, maybe for a second. Maybe it changes you from happy to thoughtful and a bit sad. Maybe it changes you from bored to interested. Maybe it changes you more than that. Something changes in you as you read it. So that's a good poem. If it's not good, it's not a poem. Okay. So that's our first impression. And when we have a first impression, again, we can read things differently. We can just glide along and get a general impression. That is good. It's good. So we can read lots and lots of poems and get some sense of them. Or we can do it, and then we can dig into it. Yeah. And see what is happening, what that makes us feel this way. Right. We have another 10 minutes or so?
7.5.
7.5. Oh, let's see. Clockwork Man.
Yeah. Time pressure.
Okay. So now what we are going to do is to look closely at it, line by line, word by word, and then we'll try to recollect it in the end. So I wandered lonely as a cloud. We start with these words. And already we have an image, a feeling, the air. Yeah, anytime you come into the poem, anytime you start reading a poem, as you read it, you construct a reality. Yeah. You construct a reality step by step. The poet creates his universe. Any poem as a little image of the universe, as the poet sees it. Yeah. So if we start with words, I wandered lonely as a cloud. What message is in it?
Maybe his, I don't know, current situation, that he felt lonely, like he was, I don't know, struggling with something, like in real life.
Walking alone. So here we have really a classical image of a romantic hero who's on his own somewhere in the nature, with no people around. He's not interested in society. He's lonely as a cloud, not as a clown, but as a cloud. Yeah, again, nature. Lonely, there's no one near him, no one understands him. Maybe he just doesn't like company. He's lonely, he's wandering. Again, wander is a good word. Yeah, or wander in the sense of questioning, being interested, being eternally surprised. And wander in the sense of being free. One means you're neither here nor there. You're somewhere in between. You don't know exactly where you are. Yeah, and that's freedom. And you're not fixed anywhere in space if you're wandering. Yeah, if you have comments, you can just write them in the chat, or you can stop me and say it. Right, so I wandered lonely as a cloud. Well, that's usual, okay, the narrator who is I is usual. I wandered. Again, wandering means he doesn't have any specific aim. Again, that's from the romantic tradition. You don't have a plan, you just let things happen. Yeah, you enjoy the flow that comes to you. Lonely, again from there, as a cloud. Why as a cloud? Maybe not in Moscow. You look up into the sky, you don't really see a lonely cloud. You see lots and lots of clouds, but he says lonely as a cloud. Why?
I think he presents him as a cloud because he can go whenever he wants, and like freedom for him. So he's a cloud.
Yes.
I think the connotation of this sentence is positive for him.
Yes, it is.
That's all.
Yeah, but it's a good point, because it could be like, oh, I'm lonely, I'm so unhappy, no one loves me, but that's not the case here. He enjoys his solitude.
May I add? I think that a cloud doesn't go where it wants. A cloud goes where the wind blows. So in this context, maybe an author wanted to show his links to nature, that he's linked to nature, he is dependent on nature. Maybe where the wind flows, and
that he goes with the flow.
As a cloud.
Yeah, and a cloud, usually it doesn't go too fast. There are some fast clouds, but usually they're quite slow. They just walk their way. Yeah, and obviously if he says he's like a cloud, then he has his head in the clouds. Yeah, he's a dreamer. when he says a cloud, we look up. Yeah, because the clouds are usually, not always, but usually they're somewhere above us, overhead. And the cloud is something not very substantial. Yeah, like we say, coming and going like a summer cloud. Now it's here, now it's gone. Yeah, dreaming. So he is a part of a landscape. I really like, there's a very nice essay, very impressive essay by a Russian author. What was his name, Sergei? We spoke about him, I think, about A Man in the Landscape. Bitov, yeah.
Yeah, Andrei Bitov.
Yeah, so he has an essay, A Man in the Landscape, and basically he says, if you have a man, it's not a landscape, it's a portrait. Okay. The only true landscape is the one which does not have a human in it. Speaking of paintings, for instance. So here, again, we have a kind of opposition, man and nature. It can be an opposition or it can be a union. Okay. If he says, I'm a cloud, then we do not see a man in the picture. He becomes a cloud, he blends in. Yeah, right. And we already have this airy air, airy sensation. We feel light as we read it. Yeah. Yes, Sergei?
Well, I feel we'll have to do a quick restart now, I'm afraid. But we'll be back. We'll be right back.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, well, congratulations. It's only taken us 40 minutes to discuss the first line. Okay, I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills. So now we continue. We bring a lot of air, a lot of space in the poem. Yeah, it's a very airy. It has great space. Because lonely as a cloud, then we see a clear sky with one cloud in it. And then we add depth to it by saying floats on high. So we have this high, which means we have all that air in between, all the ground and the cloud. We have a very big open space, and we can feel it as we read the poem. So we feel really refreshed. We are not suffocating as we read it, on the contrary. Vales and hills. So has anyone been to like Scotland? Yes? No? Somewhere in the mountains? Yes? No? Yes? Yes, yes. Okay, so if you've been somewhere in the mountains, you can imagine it. Again, you can imagine the great space above, below, everywhere. It floats on higher vales and hills, and by hills, it could be the English hills, which are more hilly, not that mountainy, but if you think about like Scotland, you can say hills when it's really mountains, or mountains when it's really hills. Still, you have the big space. Again, you see vales, you see hills, you don't see any people. You just see a great open, fresh space. So the first two lines, we create our universe, which is big, which is open, which is full of air, which is relaxed. Yeah, there's nowhere to hurry. Floats on high. Again, floating is not a fast movement. Yeah. Vales and hills. Below we have vales, we have hills, we have something going a bit down, something going a bit up. Again, we have different kinds of landscape. It's not monotonous, it's not boring, it's different. And we look at it from the point of view of a cloud. We look at it from above, floating. And everybody loves flying, floating. Oh, most people do, I guess. So we like it. Like in, I don't know, like in Miyazaki films. Also, everybody likes flying there. And so he is wondering, he has no mission in this world, he's just passing by. And then, when all at once I saw a crowd. So that comes as a crash, coming from somewhere from the clouds back to Earth. And not just to Earth, from being lonely to a crowd. So how do we like seeing a crowd when we're walking on our own? Have a peaceful walk, and then we run into a crowd. How do we feel about it?
Don't really like it, maybe.
I would feel annoyed because, you know, the serenity, solitude in some particular mood, people would be annoying in this kind of mental state.
Yes. So what he does is he breaks this relaxed movement, his lonely freedom. He runs into a crowd. So that's where we kind of change the rhythm of what is happening. Yeah, because if it's all relaxed, then we just fall asleep after a few lines. So we need to do something different. We need to introduce a surprise. A crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Oh, well, that changes things, doesn't it? So one thing is to run into a crowd. No! Another thing is to run into a crowd of golden daffodils. So if you say that the golden daffodils are a crowd, a host, then how do you perceive them? What are they? Who are they? Do you say a crowd of boxes? No. Do you say a crowd of people? Yes, yes. So if you say a crowd of daffodils, then to you they're alive.
Well, probably they are seen as alive creatures, and it continues the line of the writer feeling as the part of the landscape, a part of, he's like a cloud, so all natural objects will seem the same to him. So not only the clouds, but flowers, trees, maybe branches, leaves, and so on.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
he
any time when we use any sort of a metaphor, any sort of comparison, it always goes both ways. So if you compare a person with a cloud, then by definition you compare a cloud with a person. Yeah, it always does it. If you say a man is as strong as a lion, then not only you see a man as a lion, but also a lion having something human to it. Yeah. So yeah, if he says he is like a cloud, then a cloud is like him, and then daffodils, the flowers, are like people, and then you may say that people are like flowers. Yeah. So depends on how you look at it. And if you're in that state of mind, then you may run into an actual crowd of people, but they will be like flowers to you. And if they're all chatting, then it will be just the wind whispering in the leaves or something like that. And it always goes both ways. Right, so we have the word gold, not a host of yellow daffodils. Well, I guess for obvious reasons. Yeah, why? Why not a host of yellow daffodils? Why golden daffodils?
Maybe because yellow has bad connotations, like yellow press or something.
Maybe.
And maybe
golden.
to contrast the color of daffodil, because as Luba mentioned, there are different types of daffodils which can be bright yellow, yellow with whitish, I don't know, something like that. And he wanted to focus like on the brightness of yellow, like it's like golden, or something like that. It's like gold.
Maybe it is also related to the weather conditions. Maybe it's shining sun or something around.
Maybe.
And the golden color
as precious as gold.
Yeah, well, my guess is if you say yellow, it's nice, it's good, but it's not shiny. Yellow is a bit dull. Golden is more expensive. Yellow is a bit dull. Whether if you say golden, you don't just see the color, which is yellowish, but you see the shine. Yeah, and as a word, if you say yellow, it doesn't really tickle your mind. If you say your mind is like, oh, who said golden? I like golden. Yeah. Again, it's one of the words which our mind really loves, and golden is really important. Golden. Not only when you think about a good name for your coffee, if you want to sell it, but also golden. You look at culture, at traditions, and golden is always connected with the other world. Yeah, the world of spirits, the world of the dead, you may say, the other world, by connecting it with the sun. The sun is golden, the sun reality is the other world, and it's golden. So you have lots of fairy tales where you have golden objects. They're always magical, always belong to the other side. Maybe that too. So he's floating. He's more like a spirit than a person because he's floating. People do float, I guess, but not always, not usually. So he's like a spirit, and he comes into a crowd of, again, spirits like fairies. Not fairies, but fairy. That's how you spell it. Fairy. Golden. Golden daffodils. And he knows it's daffodils. He doesn't say, I saw lots of golden flowers. No. It says golden daffodil. And that's good. That's okay. If you read British poetry, then you'll see it everywhere because you know your nature. You know your nature. You know the name of your birds. Like in Russia, in Russia, people know the name of their mushrooms. In Britain, we know the names of our birds and flowers and trees. So if you read a British poem, then you will not say something like, oh, I sat under a tree and there was a bird singing. They will always tell you the name of the tree, the name of the bird. And again, it's more visual, it's more specific, it's more real. He knows it's daffodils, he knows his flowers, and he knows their name, so he can again communicate with them. They're familiar they are, well, if you know someone's name, then you know him or her or them. Yeah. And when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. A host is an interesting word here. Why? What does the host mean?
Maybe it implies that this gathering was purposeful and not by accident.
Yeah, so a host like a crowd, like a big number, but also a host as in hosting. Yeah. They are
He's a guest.
matters. Oh, it's the place.
Like some party, yes, or reception.
Like a party, and he runs into a party, and he's not invited. He just happens to be nearby. Yeah, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So what happens now? So first we were floating.
The metaphor.
Yeah, it's an easy answer. It's a metaphor. It's like if you're lazy, you don't know what to say. You just say it's a metaphor, or it's a dark place. No one knows what it means.
Okay.
Or it's the scribe's mistake. Someone made a mistake when writing the poem down. It's not my fault. Yeah, that's an easy answer, but let's look at it. What happens to us when we read it? What happens to the poet as he writes it? What happens to the narrator? To us with the narrator. So first, we are a cloud. We're somewhere up. We're looking at the world from above. At the vales and hills, we look from above. We are floating, look from above. Then we crash down, run into that unexpected party of the daffodil. And now maybe we saw them from above, but they hit us like energetically. We noticed them. Now we come down. We were up in the sky, now we come down and we create the local landscape. Not just the general landscape of the vales and hills. We come down, we see the details of this specific place. Now we have beside the lake, now we have the lake, we have water. Do we like lakes? Do we like water? Yes, we do. No, we don't. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So now we see a lake, we see water again. It makes us feel good because it's a happy day, good weather, the sun is shining, the flowers are golden, the lake is nice. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, we have trees around it. Again, that's good. We come down beneath the trees. Beneath, yeah. Now we are on the ground. Now we connect. We come from above to the ground to have a better look. We touch the ground. We get grounded because again, it's important. If you just keep on flying, you need to be rooted. You need to be anchored, unless you just fall asleep, which is what happens when people come to the last part of the Divine Comedy, usually. Beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Comments?
Maybe these two lines beside the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Maybe it's, I don't know, a description of a path that these daffodils are creating, like they're coming from lakes, coming through trees, like they're twisting and whirling. I don't know, something like animated maybe.
Yeah, and there is some movement, yes, of their like life.
Yeah, good. More ideas?
Okay, sorry for being, I'm sorry, but I can just guess that it's kind of personification in which daffodils are like shaking, which means dancing. They are dancing in the breeze, so they are shaking because of the wind, because of the wind. That's it.
Yeah.
I think the meaning that they are dancing is supposed to mean that they are not passive like usual trees and grass and flowers. Like the wind blows and they throw in different sides, but here it's like their choice. The source of action is in them, inside them, like they are people again. So this line of impersonation continues.
Yeah, so they again more like a fairy than flowers. They're dancing, which is what the fairies do. Yeah, the fairies like dancing. The flowers like dancing. Yeah.
But daffodil is also a symbol of new beginnings. And he describes, like, beside the lake, beneath the trees, he feels the ground, and he starts from this ground, like up again, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, maybe like this. I feel it like this.
Yeah, so we have water. The flowers need water to be alive. We have shade from the trees. Again, you need not only sunlight, but you need some shade as well. Yeah, it's a good place for the daffodils. Fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So if you imagine a daffodil head, yeah, on the stem, and when the wind moves them, they're like this. Yeah, that maybe they're listening to some rock music, rocking their heads, dancing. But when he looks at it, he can see the fairies dancing, and it's not the flower, it's the head, really. And they're all people, and they're dancing. It's a party, like we said. Fluttering and dancing in the breeze. But he is not invited. Again, he's only observing. Maybe it's also important because what usually happens when a human being sees something nice and interesting is our first urge to do.
Usually picks it up.
Yeah, to feel in some way, to touch it, to pick it, to pluck it. Does he do it?
No.
He only observes. He again, he keeps his distance. He doesn't say, I'm human, so I can do what I like. I'm the boss here. No, he is only a cloud. He's a passerby. Fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So we came down, okay, and what happened next continues as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way.
We go up again in the sky, and as he is talking about the stars, it's so maybe night. So in the second paragraph, he's talking about the night, and in the first paragraph, it was about the midday, maybe, as I see, because of the words golden. So it's associated with midday.
Yes, very good. More ideas? So we come down we focus on something that is down, we come closer, 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 and suddenly it expands. When you zoom in enough, it becomes another universe. Yeah, like, you know, the universe in a dew, in a drop of dew, the thing. So you come to look at flowers down there, and suddenly we don't go up as such, we go into, and it expands suddenly. Yeah, again, like you keep zooming in and in and in, and suddenly you see another universe. So maybe it's not really the night time, it's outer space, because we can see Milky Way. The stars shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. We might be looking at the night sky, seeing the stars, or we may be looking at them from space. So the Milky Way includes the solar system. So we look at it from outside. Anyway, it takes us again to some different level. We like floating, but it's okay. We come down, we see something nice, we see a party. Okay, we like a party, but now we get really big. We can see the whole universe, literally, billions, trillions of stars shining on the Milky Way. And why mentioning the Milky Way? Why not just saying they continue as the stars that shine and twinkle? Why mention the Milky Way? Because it's run with a bay.
So just as you said, it's not about maybe not about night, but about the universe and open space.
Yeah, universe,
right? Yeah,
because the Milky Way contains myriads of stars, and it's like if we look at the sky, we can see the biggest amount of stars exactly in the Milky Way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he erased borders, no boundaries for his dreams.
Yeah, maybe because you could just say, you could just say continues as the stars that shine, because when you say the stars, you already say eternal beauty, yeah? You already see lots and lots and lots of stars. But if you make it more specific, you say Milky Way. So if you think about the night sky, then when do you see the Milky Way? Do you see it in Moscow? Yes, we see it every night. No, we don't see it in Moscow.
On the open field.
So, who has seen the Milky Way? Has seen Milky Way in the sky?
I saw.
Yeah. People, those of you who had not seen it, you've missed a lot, really. Go to Scotland. Well, just go somewhere with a good, clean air. You'll see it. It's really fantastic. It is fantastic. So, if you go to, again, let's say Scotland, you go out into the plains in the evening, then what you see is really great dark space, really open, because there's not many people living there. So it will be just dark and dark and dark and quite open. Yeah. And then you see the darkness above, which is the big night sky. And then you see just myriads and myriads of stars and the disk of the Milky Way. And then, if you have never seen it, then you'll never understand the poetry. You'll never really understand the mythology, the ancient images and ancient myth, because that is what they've been saying every night, and it is majestic. It's really crazy. It is. You can't theorize it. You just have to see it. You have to feel it. Then you understand. Then you understand why the Nile, for instance, in Egypt, was the reflection of the Milky Way. Why the pyramids are the reflection of the Orion's belt. Because it's really big. It's really impressive. It is. So if you have not seen it, just pack your bags and go and see it tonight. Right. So it has to be a clear night. So we talk again about somewhere outside of London, outside of big cities in the open. Or if you think about it as not the night sky, but something more universal, like seeing, looking at the outer space, then if you look at the Milky Way, then the Milky Way contains the solar system and the Earth and you. So by going closer and closer, suddenly you see it from the outer space, and it contains itself within itself, within itself, within itself, if you can feel it. Or maybe it's just me. Comments? More comments? No comments? Just feel the scales. He's not shy. He's not shy to bring the whole universe into his poem. So another guy who did it was John Donne, who would say, I'm the center of the universe, no problem. Because if you're a poet, you can't be shy, you can't be polite, you can't afford yourself being shy and polite and saying, well, but if I say that I'm the middle of the universe, then maybe people will think something bad about me. No, if I say I could see the Milky Way by looking at the flowers, will they not think that I'm trying to be clever? No. Oh, you feel it, you think big. And then people who read it feel big too, hopefully. Okay. Phew. Space travel.
Space travel. Only 7 minutes left till our little break, unfortunately. It's like Zoom keeps us grounded, well grounded.
Which is good. Okay. Well, 7 minutes is a long time because each second can be made into a few years, maybe, if you know how to. Okay. And twinkle on the Milky Way. So again, we have lots of happy words. On the technical side, we have the word continuous, something big. We like when something is big and plentiful, because it's good when you have lots of things. Continuous as the stars. We love the word stars. Again, they're shiny, they're nice, they make us feel good. That shine and twinkle. So shine and twinkle, that's more happy words. On the Milky Way. Well, do you like milk? No. So when we say Milky Way, we bring milk into it. Strange as it seems, we bring milk into it. So shine and twinkle, not just shine, not just twinkle, but shine and twinkle. So again, we have movement. The stars are not just sitting there. Yeah, they're flickering. The flowers are not just sitting, they're fluttering. Yeah, everything is in motion. Everything is changing. Everything is alive. Yeah? Comments?
Yes, and also he uses dancing again in the last line. So again, he will have movement and dancing as with the daffodils.
Yeah, because he still talks about the daffodils. Right. Shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched a never-ending line along the margin of a bay. So again, you may say, well, but he's just saying the same thing. The idea is the same. It continues, stars that shine, they stretch it in the never-ending line. Isn't that the same? Isn't that the same? But no, from the poetic point of view, it is not the same. Because they stretch it. Okay, stretching. Good for you. Do you do your stretching? Do you do your stretching? Yes, we do. No, we don't. Sitting for an hour, you need to do some stretching. Okay, let's do some stretching, like flowers. It's important. It's important to, as you do your cosmic, spiritual, magic discoveries, it's very important to remember about your health. Stretching. They stretch a never-ending line. So never-ending, never-ending, never-ending. Ideas about never-ending?
Well, it echoes the idea of the Milky Way. Milky Way is also never-ending. We don't see the boundaries.
Yeah, eternity. Yes. Yeah, never-ending calls never-ending in what? Never-ending in time, never-ending in space, never-ending in memory, never-ending in where?
Never-ending of the moment, maybe. Like in every sentence, the author underlines the infinity. Like everything is never-ending, Milky Way, stars.
Yes.
Splendid.
I think it's about the space because then we have the margin of the bay. So it's about quantity, I think. So countless number of daffodils.
Yeah, so you might just be on your usual stroll and then you just run into infinity. Just like that. That happens. Do not be alarmed. Right, never-ending, never-ending. Yeah, it's a powerful word because we have the word never, which is kind of negative, and we have the word ending, which is kind of ending the end. Again, a bit negative, but together, never-ending. That's something new, something big, something that has no end. A story has no end. Yeah, never-ending story. Have you read the book? Never-ending story? No, oh, dear me. Have you seen the film? Never-ending story. The schoolboy finds a book and he starts reading it instead of going to school. No?
Does it star Robin Williams there?
I have no idea. I'm not into actors, really. There's a big dragon who looks like a white dog a bit, but a very long dog. Surely you've seen it.
I've seen just screenshots on the internet.
Falling apart because the great nothing is eating it bit by bit, and they need to find the name for the princess, and they can't because only the boy who is reading the book instead of going to school, only that boy can give the name to the princess, but he just can't admit it himself that he is a part of the story that he's reading. No, doesn't ring a bell at all. People, never-ending story, yes. What do they teach you at school these days? Your education is rubbish.
On a technical note, to be shy and polite, there's less than a minute left. What do we do? Do we do a restart now, or do we wait till period 2 arrives?
No, we
20
wait.
minutes?
We wait.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's wait till period 2 arrives, which is going to be 2:20 Moscow time, and okay, slowly but surely we're back after having done our stretching exercises. We are now 29 people, 31, 32, 30, oh, just 32, just 32. Okay, 33, yes. We're going to set a record, but so far we are 34 people. We're continuing our discussion of the poem. Thank you to everyone who has participated, and as Margot said, don't be shy, be as bold as poets are, and take an active part. If you have something to say, say it. If you have something to write the chat, do it. Also, if we have time after the discussion of the poem is over, we can probably have a little Q&A session with Margot. You can ask questions and I won't.
Life, the universe, and everything.
And
I'm not saying I have the answers, but you can ask.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it going?
So we are 45. I think we can start now, and the rest will be joining us when they are ready, if they are ready. So let's continue, maybe.
Let's. Yeah. So the strongest and the bravest, and we still have more than a half of the poem ahead. Right. Along the margin of the bay, that's where we stop. So continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretch in never-ending line along the margin of the bay. 10,000 saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Now we say along the margin of the bay. So we know, yeah, okay, that's a bay because we can see the lake, and the daffodils like lakes, and it's all quite normal. At the same time, the way he puts it, the margin of a bay. Again, each time we have a margin in a poem. Why would have a margin in a poem? Are you back yet? Yeah, so why do we have a margin in the poem?
Maybe because the word border is too plain for the poetic language.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so first of all, we have the idea of a border. Doesn't matter how we call it. We have an idea of a border. Have the idea of in the poem. It can be something like a wall, can be something like a fence, can be just border, margin. Again, bridge maybe. Between what?
Maybe the poet and the world.
Maybe.
Maybe between the real world and the dreamy world.
Yeah. So usually, from our experience, when we have some kind of margin wall, what we tend to separate is our and not our, known, familiar, and unknown, alien. Yeah, we like to have borders. It's human nature. Human nature likes borders, likes walls, likes separation. And we have the margin here. The poet is someone who can walk that line, who can be not here, not there, but be present in between the states. Yeah, a normal person, a usual person says, okay, I'm right, I'm left. I belong to this reality. I belong to that reality. But a poet is someone who can stay in between, on that margin, without tipping either way. So yeah, I guess the margin is between, let's say, waking reality or usual reality, physical reality, and magical reality. Like we have the universe, we have the Milky Way, stars, the fairies, you name it. And here we are on the margin. When he sees the daffodils, that's the place in between, because you can say, oh, the daffodils are just nice flowers, or you can say, the daffodils are like the fairy, or you can stay in that space in between, just let them be whatever they like to be. Yeah, that's where he is, on the margin. Then again, not border, not exactly border, not edge, margin. What is about the word margin?
It's sort of not in the main way, it's something in the margin, something that happens outside the main part of the reality, so to speak.
Yeah, so we have the word like marginal. Yeah. Marginal, as in margin. Then again, margin is something from books. We have margin. And why do we need a margin? Why can't we just have the text from here to here? Why do we need the margin? There are different reasons for it. Can you name a few reasons why we need a margin?
Well, the first reason might be a technical one, because for the printer to be able to print, both our home printers and our big printers in printing houses, there is to be some space which is not printed on. And that basically makes the need for margins.
Yeah, from the reader's point of view, it's also very comfortable to make notes.
Yes.
There is a space.
Yeah, so that is true. So on one hand, you don't want to have your text very close to the edge, because the printer is, the issue is not with the printer not being able to print here. The issue is that the printer prints a whole page, a big page, and then they cut it. So there's always some technical error, and they may cut it, if it's too close to the edge and they cut it, they may cut a bit of your text. So you want to have a bit of space in here, but it might not be a problem. Might not be a problem. The real reason is margin is what allows you to communicate. Yeah, if you look at the history of books, how it goes. When we have first books, they have no margin because the reader was not supposed to communicate with the book. The book was the authority. You don't argue with it. You don't question it. You don't touch it. You don't breathe on it. Yeah, it's a very important big object. All the margins would be filled with like little images, illustrations. I think you know, yeah, you've seen it. There's no free space for the reader because there is no space for the reader in the book. Yeah, the book is the boss. Then later, much later, you start having margins. And the idea of the margin was, first of all, for you to communicate with the book. There could be really big margins. Yeah, so historically, that's the idea. The margin is the space for your own thoughts, your own ideas, for your identity. So if the reality is like a poem, the reality is like a book, then what we ask ourselves, what kind of a book is it for us? Is it a kind of book which is old-fashioned, which has no space, which is just text and text and text, and we don't have a say in it, we just take it as it is? Or is there a margin? Yeah. How do we communicate with the poem of reality? Do we have our identity? Do we have our own space in it? Yeah. So here we have the margin of the bay, and again the margin, I guess, in both senses, as the border in between realities and as in a space. Oh, well, really space, a space to be. The margin of the bay. Right, so we stretch a never-ending line along the margin of a bay, and again, a line it can be a line as in mathematics, or can be a line as in poetry. So they stretch a never-ending line as if to say it's a never-ending story along the margin of the bay. Yeah, you think the reality is complete, but there's that margin, and within that margin you can have a never-ending story. You may think a margin is not a big place, but it's never-ending. Again, big and small at the same time. Your ideas? We have no words. It's too amazing. Am I right? It's too amazing and you have no words?
We remain speechless.
Okay. So he sees the world as a poem, and that's a margin. And another thing about margins is you see all sorts of things in there. Especially if you think about printed books, if you think about manuscripts, and obviously each manuscript would be a bit different, but still, if you think about a printed book, then the pages with the text would be more or less the same. Could be some technical minor details, but in general they would be the same. But if you look at the margins, then they have identity. Has anyone seen really old books, like 18th century maybe? Yes?
Yeah.
Has anyone seen really old books, held them maybe in their hands, went through them? Yes, yes, yes. So again, if you have not, it's a really great experience. I think maybe you can have a kind of a tour in some big library where they can show it to you. And they do have personality. They all have notes, miniatures, including miniatures. But if we talk about manuscripts, that would be like little images which fill in all the margins because there's no space for the reader. But if you think about later books, then the reader would fill it in, because reading used to be intellectual.
Oh.
Yeah, it used to be really intellectual. You were meant to, again, if you have a margin, it in itself implies that you're supposed to talk to the book. It's not there just for nothing. Yeah. And so people who have books, they paid attention to the books. And then again, a book was not that cheap and fancy like today. Yeah. So if you have a book, it means you really need it. It's important to you. You pay attention to it. You study it. You talk to it. My cat is talking in her sleep.
To the book. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Probably dreaming of
Daffodils. Yeah.
Anyway, if we have a margin, then each new reader would leave their marks, and the same goes for reality. Reality. What is reality? Who knows? No one knows, because to know what it is, you'd have to look at it from outside, and we can't really do it unless you have some really funny mushrooms. So see, we kind of agree. We kind of agree that we see more or less the same page, more or less the same text, but our margin is personal. Yeah. So that's what is happening here. If I'm saying something really stupid, then I'm not sorry, because it's not me, it's the Gnomiki. The Gnomiki tell me what to say. All questions to the Gnomiki. Yeah. Right. Along the margin of a bay, 10,000 saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. So the only problem with remember the poem might be remembering the order, because he kind of keeps saying the same thing. There were lots of flowers. There were lots of flowers, and they were moving a bit. There were lots of flowers. They were moving. So he says the same thing. He describes the same image again and again. Why? Why can't you just do it once? The first stanza, beside the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, a host of golden daffodils. That's what says lots of flowers, a host. A second stanza continues as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, so shadows which are moving. 10,000 saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. It's the third time, the same thing. Why?
Maybe to hold us to.
There's nothing new, or is there?
Maybe he's doing it to keep us, to hold us on this idea of movement, of changes, as I see it.
Maybe he also wants to relate to songs or dance that also has kind of repetition of rhythm.
Well, actually, when you spend time in the nature, nothing happens. Nothing is happening at the first sight. But if you are, if you concentrate on something, you start seeing like small movements, different shades of colors, and so on. But if you just look at the field, like from your window, it's really nothing is happening. Well, maybe branches are, I don't know, moving because of the wind, but otherwise, no, nothing.
Okay, so maybe he sees it a bit differently each time. So each time he describes it slightly different. Maybe we see it slightly different because we have a different context. Again, the context is vital because nothing exists in just floating like a cloud in space. All that we see, all that we perceive exists within some context. So maybe we see it a bit different each time. We have different things about it each time, and he describes it slightly different each time. Maybe, or maybe it's to keep us concentrated. Because again, talking about fast life and slow reading, what he offers us here by showing us the same image from slightly different angles, but still the same image, we love action. We like drama. Yeah, we do. We love action, we love drama, we do. There's no action here as such. There's movement, but there's no action. There's no drama as such. But we keep reading. We think, oh, maybe it will be something different this time. Oh, not again, but we've already read it. So maybe it's a kind of a meditation. So our mind doesn't wander off too far away. We keep looking at the same image for a while, maybe. I have no idea, but then who has any ideas? No one has any idea. Okay. Oh, 10,000. So 10,000. A host, a crowd. How is it different from continuous as the stars, and how is it different from 10,000? We have three times he tells us about a great number of flowers. And first time he says it was a crowd, a host. Second time he says like the stars as numerous, continuous. And now he says 10,000. How are these three different?
Less personal, more like numbers, nothing anthropological anymore, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe we can count 10,000 and other ones we can't.
So it makes it much more concrete.
Yeah, more specific. So if you say a host, a crowd, then you see a mass. You don't see anything in particular. You don't see individual flowers. You see a host, a mass, something big and golden. Yeah. Then he says like the stars. So if you look, maybe a bit later, be closer to the evening, but if you look at the sky and you see stars, then you see lots of stars, but still you see individual stars. You may not know the names of all of the stars, but you may recognize some of them. Yeah, you may know their position. They're still great in number. They're still pretty nebulous, if we can say that stars can be nebulous, but you can see separate dots now. Is much more specific. Did he count?
No, because he couldn't.
How does he know it's 10,000?
A rough guess.
Yeah, maybe it's just a big number to say 10,000. And maybe if you think about people, then 10,000 is like, how much is 10,000 in people? Is it like a town?
No. No.
A small town?
Maybe
Yeah, more like a village. Yes, something from between the village and the town.
10,000 in one village. It would be a very big village.
Yes, it would.
An overcrowded village.
An overcrowded village. Okay, name me a city which is not too big. Population. Okay, let's see. What does it tell us? Maybe. So I think today would be more like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50,000 people.
But then again, if you have a town which is only populated by something like 10,000 people, then it's very likely that someone knows someone and there are close connections between each and every member of the town's population. So more or less, they know each other pretty well if they live in such a small town of 10,000 inhabitants.
So I had a look, and if you look again, say like Scotland, if you try Fort William, which is not an awfully big place, but it's quite big, then it has 10,500 people in like 2011, and it's considered to be the second largest settlement. The Inverness is bigger. It has like nearly 50,000 people in it, which is like really much bigger. So 10,000 in a settlement is a lot. So that's in Highland in Scotland, a place with 10,000 people is like really big. And if you think back to Wordsworth times, you would have less people in there. So 10,000 is a huge number. Maybe it makes you think about like really big strategic places. So 10,000 is a lot for people, but is it a lot for daffodils? Yes, no.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, it's a lot, it's a lot. It's maybe not a, it's a lot. 10,000 saw at a glance. So again, we have a big number, 10,000, and he can see them in a glance. Again, it's something small. A glance is just quick glance. Meaning, there's more. 10,000 is just what he sees if he looks at them, but if he looks closer, he may see more. Yeah, so he says, really, there's much more. 10,000 saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Okay, so from fluttering and dancing in the breeze, we have tossing their heads in sprightly dance. How is that different? If
They were dancing before.
Sorry.
yeah,
So it's okay. Okay. No.
Well, he's in the picture. So we had myriads of stars. Now we have 10,000 of daffodils. First they were just dancing. Now we have exactly what parts of flowers are moving. So he's paying close attention to the scene. Now we can see greater detail.
Yes,
and they have heads.
The heads of the flowers moving, maybe because of the wind. Maybe the wind is blowing, and this is why they are moving.
Oh, wow! Zoom is clever. It says a ticking noise, the mysterious ticking noise.
The mysterious
They talk
time
about the
bomb.
mysterious ticking noise. Yeah. Okay. So now we have heads. Again, people and flowers coming together. Flowers which have heads, at the same time, people who have flower instead of the head, like Wordsworth, because he's a dreamer, he's a poet. He doesn't have a normal square head. He has a big flower for his head. Again, any metaphor always works both ways. So not only we start seeing flowers with human heads, whether we like it or not, but we start seeing flowers with human heads, and at the same time we see humans with flower heads. It starts mixing. Yeah, we agree. It's very clear. No, we don't agree. It's moonshine. What do you say?
But is it only poets who have flower heads? Is it limited to poets?
No, it's not limited to poets. But people, wakey wakey, yes, we think it's true. No, we think it's moonshine. No, we're little potatoes.
But we are.
Are you humans, flowers, or are you potatoes? Okay, show me one human, 2 fingers for flowers, 3 for potato, please. Potato, 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 potato. Oh, someone's flowers. More flowers. Okay, flowers. Okay, good. And I can be a beetle. Right. Tossing their heads and sprightly dance. Sprightly. Sprightly. What is sprightly?
Cheerfully.
So why not say tossing their heads and cheerful dance? Why sprightly? They drink Sprite.
More
Yes, they
vividly.
do.
Xenia?
Maybe it means more vividly, more vivid.
Maybe. I may connect it with words like spring, spring as a season, and spring like the movement, and probably it's connected with the word in the sense of fairy or spirit. So we have some words here which show us that these are not just any normal flowers. These are like fairy spirits who them. They are a crowd, a host. They're dancing, like fairies dancing. Or they are margin. That's where you find the fairies, in the margin of reality. And they're not just dancing, they have a sprightly dance. The sprite is a spirit, as in fairy. So that's not a usual meeting. And again, you don't really see 10,000 flowers. Maybe you do. Maybe they do tend to grow in big. Right. Start. Do we restart?
Well, we can do that now because it seems like a logical thing to do now, and then
Yeah,
we'll continue
we'll just move to
the next stanza. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So see you all in a minute.
Bye. Right. So we have just an hour to discuss the last two stanzas. Let's hope it will be enough for us. Because, you look at the poem and you think, oh, well, it's a tiny little thing. What can you possibly say about it? And then you go into it, and just like the Daffodils, the closer you look, the bigger it gets. Magic. Appearing from nowhere, teleporting.
46 people have been teleported so far. So I think we can go on, and the rest will join us as they see fit.
Yeah. Also, what we really do, it doesn't matter what we say. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is that we focus on it, we pay attention to it all around us. Oh, that's what counts. Because words be words. Words are just helping us, because mind likes words and Wordsworth. So if we use words, if we keep talking, our mind keeps on the same subject, which is basically meditation, you may say, connecting with the daffodils. Right. Side them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. So now reality undoes itself. It's not solid, because as we come into it, it becomes waves rather than particles. We have the waves, and the waves are also dancing. So everything is dancing. Life is a dance. Life is a poem dance, and we become waves. We lose our shape. So again, we have the flowers, which are twinkling, golden, sparkling, and dancing, tossing, fluttering. We have the stars, which are twinkling, moving. Now we have the waves. So the whole reality is sparkling and moving and dancing. And if you dance, then probably you're happy. Do we dance when we are happy? Yeah. Yeah. So everything is dancing here. Everything. And the waves are dancing, but the flowers are still more awesome.
Yeah.
Glee, we have actually the word here. So what is important in this reality is happiness, cheerfulness. They're not dancing because they showing, no, we're not taken, no. Is it working?
It is, but it could do better. It seems that.
Oh, but it just got frozen momentarily.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That was also our version. Yeah, but now it's back.
So now we already feel it. We already feel that it's a happy place, because it's full of golden light, of shining, twinkling, dancing. Now we have our confirmation. We have it spoken out. We say in we bring it into the poem. Again, as a poet, we don't feel shy. We don't think like, well, if I say it 2 times, or if I say it 3 times, or if I say it 10 times, then it's bad style. You're not supposed to say the same thing 10 times. Oh, it's like, oh, I don't care. I do what I like, what I feel is right. Because if you are the poet, you are the poet of your reality. Yeah, you create the language. Not language creates you to some extent, but you create the language. Again, if you come back to language is made for the man and not the man for the language. Yeah, so that's what you do. It's still working.
Yes, it is.
Because people seem a bit frozen. Peeps, is it working? Can you write in the chat? Because you get frozen now and then. Yeah. Okay, good. Right. A poet could convey. Yeah, I see. So it's working. Good. And now you say, is it only the poets who have flower head? So is, who is a poet? So if you say a poet is someone who writes poetry, then no, it's not only about poets. But here, yeah, a poet could not but be gay. If you have a flower head, then you're a poet. If you can get here, either by reading the poem or by writing it, doesn't matter. If you can get there, then you're a poet. If you can join it, you're a poet. If you are gay and happy when you see the host of dancing daffodils, then you're a poet. If you participate in the dance, you're a poet. Yeah, so a poet could not but be gay. What does he mean, a poet? Who's a poet?
A happy person.
A happy person. Peeps? Who's a poet?
Like an artist, a creator of something.
He enjoys life, enjoys the surroundings, nature and everything that is connected with it, and he's a free person who is not afraid of expressing his thoughts.
Yeah, I think that would be correct. Yeah, in this poem, I guess our question is the most likely. Not be gay. So again, we have a little negation, could not but. We create a little negative space in here. Negative not in the sense bad, but in the sense of polarities. You have a positive energy, you have negative energy. Yeah, it's not good or bad. Like in electricity, magnets. Could not, but be gay. So gay is a great word, totally spoiled today, unfortunately, but well, it's a problem. Gay is a good word. Gay and fey, because people don't like strangeness. They like to kind of bring it down and spoil it. Yeah, creating, you can't be sad. Yeah. Okay.
But
so what happens to you?
Sorry, a question from someone who can't dance. It requires a technical skill to be able to dance.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It requires a technical skill to be a poet.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, that's good. So we're not hopeless.
Yeah, a poet, like we just said, a poet is a free, happy person who is not too keen on him, herself, who can appreciate life, who can see beauty in every little detail. What technical skills are you talking about? Yeah, again, dancing, we have professional dancers, we have dancers with steps and rules and beat and things. And then we have our natural movement, the dance of life, where you don't have to think about steps, you just move with the flow, you let the energy move you, and that's the dance. And you know you're doing it right because it feels good. If it doesn't feel good, whatever you're doing right now, yeah, if it does not feel good, then you're not dancing it. Whatever you're doing, doesn't matter what. If it feels good, then you dance it right. If you're teaching and it feels good, you're dancing it right. If you're writing and it feels good, then you write it right. And it doesn't matter if it's rubbish, because who is going to read it? Only the gnomiki, no one else. People don't care, really. Don't care much. Unless, but if you dance with the gnomiki and the gnomiki like it, then people will like it too. Then people will like it too. Somehow, because they will like the gnomiki part about it. Anyway, a poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. So now they are a company again, like people, like someone you can communicate with, a company. They are happy, so he's happy, everyone is happy. If you're not happy, you do not belong there, then you can't see it. Excuse me? Right. A poet couldn't but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought.
So a poet is someone.
Yes, someone.
A poet is a person who, as you said, appreciates life and who can transmit his feelings and present them in a rhythmical form, in an order that helps other people to understand his feelings. He shares his feelings in a special rhythmical form.
Mm-hmm.
He makes other people feel the same that he has felt. This is why.
Yeah, maybe not exactly, because you can never do it, because again, our margins are all different. But you can try, yeah. So a poet goes somewhere where no one else goes. A poet is a kind of a shaman, really. So he goes to the dark spaces, maybe, looking at something dreadful, dramatic, horrible, where we do not like going by our own. Or he goes somewhere big and beautiful, where we may feel shy to go, like, no, it's too big for me, I'm just a small little mousy mouse. Yeah, and the poet has the courage. He goes there, and then he takes us with him, or her, or them, it, I don't know. Again, his feelings, our feelings are not necessarily the same, probably very different. Probably what he was feeling about it is very different from what you or I feel about it. It doesn't matter. What matters is we feel, that's enough. We can feel some of it. We can get there and we can explore it in our way. His task is to get us here, our task is to explore it. Mm-hmm. The same as with teaching. A teacher can tell the student something, but it's the student's task to explore it, to learn it. A teacher cannot take his brain and put into the student's head, as all of you know. Yeah. we can share. That is what happens in poetry. Nothing new? Same old thing? Right, so in such a jocund company, we have the pause, I gaze and gaze. Again, no action, no drama, just looking. But looking can be very intensive. If you don't just look, but you gaze, you pay attention, you participate in it by looking. But little thought what wealth the sight, the show to me had brought. Again, we have words like wealth, which we like, a little thought. So again, what he says here, you can really analyze and put on a shelf with little labels on it. Thoughts come later. Thoughts interfere, because if you're thinking, then your thoughts get in the way. Start looking at your thoughts instead of looking at the picture, at what is happening. Because what is happening happens now in present moment, and if you are distracted by thinking, then you lose it. Same as if you're taking pictures, then you look into your camera and you miss the actual thing. Yeah, the same as here. If you're thinking about what is he, on the other hand, participates in it completely. There's no thought process in it. Just sensations, just be a little thought. What wealth the show to me had brought. So seeing something. No idea? Yes, I do.
Could you say it again, because my screen froze. Maybe it was other people's experience as well. So could you say it again?
Yeah, so how can just looking at something be a wealth?
Well, we often measure wealth. Yeah, it can be. So sorry. Yeah.
It can inspire you to do something.
Yeah, Alexander. Okay, who wants to speak? Okay, Alexander was first.
It can inspire you to do something if you see something beautiful.
Yeah, Milana.
Yeah, I wanted to express the same for the poet. It's very important and valuable to see the aesthetics and beauty around, so he can transfer it into his art.
Yeah, again, is it a poet, when you say a poet, is it the poet who writes poetry, or is it the poet as, like we said, a free and happy person?
I think like a person.
Both.
Not the one who writes.
Senior says, Gates and Gates, it's like amazed by it all. Yeah, because you can only look at it, you can only gaze at it, you have no words. You don't try to language it, because the biggest moments are unlanguageable. It's a very good word, I really, unlanguageable. Something you can't put into language. Our language is very limited. It's for things. And what is here is no thing. So there's no word for it. You can only gaze at it. And you can't stop because it mesmerizes you. It takes you in. Right. Wow, can it be? Can it be? What is it, 2 hours or something into our meeting, and we finally come to the last stanza of this very long poem of 4 stanzas. Amazing. For oft when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. So, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft when on my couch I lie, what happens?
We are back on the ground.
What happens?
Together with the author
Mm-hmm.
that is lying on the couch.
Even
yeah, and not
probably
just
in
on the
reality.
ground. Yeah. Where are we? Where are we now?
In our reality, in some real life.
So do you have a couch beside the lake beneath the trees?
No.
No. Where do you have?
We are not in nature now.
So we're back to human life, human society, human surroundings, but we still carry the memory, the image, the energy, you may say, of what we've seen with us. So we don't have to be there physically to experience it now, because now it's with us. And thanks to William, now it's with all of us. So anyone who's read the poem had been there. Automatically. Again, you don't have to be there physically, but you get there by reading it. If you lie on your couch, you don't have to get up and go anywhere anymore. Well, you do really, to really feel it. But you can get there by reading. On my couch I lie. So not when I sit at the table and have my dinner, and not when I go to somewhere else, but when on my couch I lie. Why?
Looks like it was a dream. So I have 2 thoughts. Whether he was reading something, or he had a dream, or he was dreaming. So, and now he's awake, and he realizes that he's in his couch.
Yeah, because if we start with him floating like a cloud over vales and hills, so he compares himself with a cloud which floats over vales and hills, or he floats over vales and hills like a cloud. That's the question. Is it a dream? Is it reality? We are on the margin between dream and reality. We can't say which it was. We can't. And yeah, now we are back and we see him on the couch and we think like, well, maybe it was a dream, or maybe it was not a dream. Maybe he's just relaxing after a long walk. But if we see him lying, what does it tell us? What is the message? Lying down. Is he a very busy person? Yes, he is. No, he's not. He's a lazy bag.
Of course he's lazy.
Maybe he's a dreamer. And dreamers just like to lie in their beds. Yeah, I'm talking about myself. When I dream, I'm in my bed.
Yeah, maybe he's a potato, like, because when on my couch I lie. It was a lie. It wasn't true. On his couch, he lies to us.
Oh my God.
So is it a very heroic and dramatic action to lie on your couch? Yes, we're superheroes. We can lie all day.
No, it is not. It is not. It is something. But maybe it's what defines a poet. A person who is happy and free, also free to spend all day lying on the couch and enjoying ideas floating around.
Yeah. So again, it's something that Wordsworth and his fellows brought us, because originally, before them, the idea of poetry was to show something with a moral in it, or something dramatic at least, something big. And the idea of a person was to be sociable, was to think about others, to participate in social business of all sorts. So if you don't do it, then you're a bad person, you're lazy, you are horrible. Yeah, it's your duty to be a part of society. And then these guys came by and they're like, well, you know what? Guess what? Maybe not really. Maybe if I want to lie down and relax and dream a bit, then maybe it's also has its value. Maybe matter doesn't matter that much. Maybe fantasy is no less real. Yeah, so if you think about like I know, industrial times, industrial revolution, and you have that's what we have today, really. That idea, time is money. You heard it, yeah? Which comes from the times of the Industrial Revolution. And that's the idea that most people get from childhood, repeated to them every day. If you are not busy with something useful, you're wasting your time, and thus you're wasting your money. You could be earning some money at this time or doing something useful. That's the same idea here. So if a person today just lies back and does nothing for a day, then the person is supposed to feel guilty about it. Yeah, like, oh, I could be doing some housework. Oh no, I could be doing something else. No, I can't just lie down. No, I must be busy. Yeah, the same idea. So in that sense, the poem is very modern, because we need to be reminded that time belongs to us, and there's time to work, and there's time to relax, because it's a wave. You can't have one without the other. You need to relax to do some work, and you need to work to relax. Yeah, you need to get tired to relax. You need to relax to get tired again, if nothing else. And he reminds us of that. He says, okay, I'll show you someone who just lies down, does nothing, just lying down on the couch, and that is good. There's nothing wrong about it. Try it, you'll like it. For oft when on my couch I lie, and he says, I often do it, not just once or twice. Yeah. Oft when on my couch I lie. And what does he do? Maybe he thinks some great thoughts. Maybe he's planning a revolution or something. No, in vacant or in pensive mood. Yeah, vacant, just vacant, empty, blank. So we need to value the emptiness, the silence. Again, if you turn to like Oriental art, to Chinese paintings, for instance, they have lots of space in it. But if you look at the European art, Nobody likes empty space. If you look at the paintings, then the idea is to fill it, to have no space left, which is again comes from the same conception, same ideas. Well, here he says, no, you don't have to think about anything great and big. So, oh, well, if you lie down, then at least you could plan something. No, no thanks, some other time. Pensive is a good word because it has a pen in it. Because he's a poet and he has pensive mood. Comments?
So he is not sorry for being on his couch because he doesn't see anything bad in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not only that, but he says you need it, because he says it's the bliss. Yeah? They flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. Yeah, it's not just something good, it's blissful, it's sent from heaven to you. It's God-given. Solitude, pensiveness, pause is God-given, and you must use it if you want to be a happy person and live a long life. They flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and the inward eye is, of course, just beautiful. Inward eye, because if you close your eyes, you still keep seeing, and maybe more than with the normal eyes, usual eyes, outward eyes. Yeah, inward eye is fantastic. The bliss of solitude. So we start with, I wandered lonely as a cloud. We start with solitude, and we end with solitude. And he says it's a bliss. He says it's something he really enjoys. So he was enjoying it from the start, from the first line. The bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils.
Kind of a circle.
Oh, it's just sweet, like a circle. Yeah, really sweet, really sweet. So my heart with pleasure fills, and if you read it, then your heart with pleasure fills, because what we read, what we hear, what we see, our mind projects on itself automatically. So if you, especially if you say it, not just read it, but you say it, just right now, try to just say it and feel it. Just say, then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Yeah, if you say it, you make it true. Maybe that's why he repeats those things 3 times, because as Lewis Carroll points out, what's said 3 times is true. You say it 1 time, it's not true. You say it twice, it's not true. You say it 3 times, it's true. And there's a logic to it, because, you know, he was a mathematician, so he didn't just say things. Because if it happens once, it could be a coincidence. It may not mean anything. If it happens twice, you may think, ah, there's a pattern, but really it might be a coincidence of coincidences. Yeah, just 2 coincidences. It's a coincidence that 2 coincidences happened. A coincidence of coincidences. But if it happens 3 or more times, then it is a pattern. So something you say thrice is true. He says it thrice. 3 times he says, I see lots of happy flowers dancing. And 3 times he uses the word happy in the previous stanza. Glee, gay, and jocund. Right, one after another. To make it true. So now it's true, now it's with us. Then my heart with pleasure fills. So we had parts of body in the poem. We had heads, but the flowers had heads. We didn't see the person, the narrator, because he was a cloud. He didn't have a form. He was a cloud, a spirit. Now he is back to our reality. Now he has a body, he has a presence, he has shape, and now he has heart. We don't see his face, it's not important. Or we don't see his hands or anything, but we can see his heart, because to him, here, a person is defined by heart. Oh, your heart with pleasure fills. And dances with the daffodils, again, joining, now joining, not just looking, but joining their cosmic, majestic, magical dance. No more an observer, but a participant now, a part of the big dance of nature. And they're happy flowers, and his is a happy heart, so they dance really, really gaily, happily. Comments? Anything? Q&A?
Q&A, yeah, a comment on Q&A. We can do a restart now, because there's probably not enough time for, yeah. And then we're back to questions and answers, or questions without answers, or answers without questions.
Yeah, we'll see about it.
Yeah. Okay, so see you all.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, some say mind your P's and Q's, and we'll mind our A's and Q's.
Okay, so questions, comments, and now it's time to sort of comment not only on the poem we've read, but also on what goes into reading it, discussing it, and using it to teach it. Yes.
I have a question. Does anyone has any questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Gusi, are you just a student? Do you write poems?
Everybody writes poems. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Because sometimes they look like cakes, or sometimes they look like something else.
And you're a student, right? Maybe I missed it.
Maybe.
So.
We're all students. We're all students and teachers, because where does a student end? Where does a teacher begin?
You've got so much philosophy. Thank you. Thank you very much for your wonderful analysis.
Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. It only makes sense when someone comes around.
Thank
I
you.
speak to myself, but it's not half that interesting.
Can we read your poems? anywhere?
Yes, we can read my poems. I've got it on live journal somewhere. Let me
Do you
see.
write in English or in Russian?
Oh, I had some experiments in Russian. I don't think they're very good. But most of it is in English because, you know, English is how you write poetry.
Can I advise you one poet?
So, okay, let me send you a link to the chat. Oh, basically, you can find it all here.
If I may ask, shall we use this approach to have lessons on extensive reading, like reading for pleasure, or we can? So, I would like to get more information about the structure of the lesson. So
Well, the structure of the lesson, how much time can we spend for the slow reading in the class, says Yuri. Okay, you spend how much time can you allow? You can go through it quickly. If you don't have much time, you can just focus on some obvious details, again, like what makes the poem different from all other poetry. Maybe there's something about sound, maybe there's something about using colors, maybe there's something about the rhythm, maybe there's something about images, maybe something about ideas. You can do it quickly, or you can do it like really thoroughly, like we did today. Really, it's infinite. You can stop. The beauty of it is, as it's more of a method, you know, like in Hamlet, this is madness, but there's a method to it. So this is a method to madness. Since this is a method, you can stop at any time. Yeah, if you discuss one stanza, you can stop there. You discuss 3 stanzas, you can stop there. It's better to get to the end of the poem, because then you can see the connection and how the story develops. Yeah, like here in Daffodils, first we can see something from a distance. We can't see the details, and then we go closer, we see more and more, we go into it. Yeah, we can see how it works, how it develops, how in the end it comes back to the beginning in the sense of solitude. But then it's not solitarily solitude, because now he's not alone, he has the daffodils with him. Yeah, so the structure is there a structure? Sergey, is there a structure? So first you look at the poem. If it has an interesting title, you may spend some time thinking about the title. Here it's just the first line, so it's not interesting. But sometimes you have an unusual title. Then you can stop and think, like, why do we have this title? Because the title is the first what you see of the poem. Yeah, if you want to choose a poem to read, then it should have a good title. If you're a poet, you write a poem, you want someone to read it, you are aware that the first thing they will see is the title. You need to have a good title. And so you may spend some time talking about the title and how it works and why. You read the whole poem because you need to have something complete. The accent, it's the gnomic accent, I imagine, from the fairyland. Something complete in your head. When you have it complete, first you do your comments and impressions on it before you discuss it. Your fresh, your virgin impressions of it, because after you go through it, it may change. But the first impression is also really important, because most people do not go into research and details. They just read the poem and it works some way. Yeah, so that's important too, you see. Then in the end, you can compare, has your perception changed in any way? From how you understood it, how you felt about it the first time you read it, and after you looked at all the connections and details and nuances. Yeah, then you can go just relaxedly from line to line, and whatever catches you, you just stop and you discuss it. You see, why this word? Why not some other word? How does it work? What does it do? Yeah.
And maybe at the beginning, is it possible to discuss the author just for a while, or to get us to know?
You can say a few words to have some background, so we again we understand the circumstances, but it's not necessary. Because again, the idea is that we have something that exists out of time. Whenever we read it, whoever reads it, it affects them. So if it affects you now and someone 200 years ago, and it affects them because otherwise the poem would not survive to this day. If it affects all sorts of people, then there is something universal to it. And we try to feel what is it, because you may not know any historical details, you may know nothing about the author's biography, you just see the poem somewhere out of context, and it impresses you, it makes you want to paint it, or it makes you want to do something, it changes your mood. Yeah, there's something very universal in it. But if you think you can give some interesting details, then it can be a good idea. Yeah, and in the end, obviously it's good to kind of summarize what you've been through, so people don't forget what it was in the beginning.
I have one more question. May I ask you?
Just one. Okay.
In the introduction, you have said that we can use this midrash approach for the content-based lesson analyzing a picture or a book or a poem.
Yeah, it can be used for anything at home.
You have said something like this about talking about picture or book. And my question is exactly about the pictures. For example, if we take a picture, for example, I have a picture of the sea.
Yeah.
That I want to discuss with my students. How can we use this midrash approach to analyze such a picture?
Yeah, in exactly the same way as you do it with a poem. Again, it will be different for different kinds of paintings because there will be different details to look at. But if you look at something more or less, I'm not saying abstract, but without a scene, without action, there is action really. So you can look at, again, how does it make you feel? Why? You can look at the composition. A good question, always a good question to ask, why would a painter want to paint it? If he wanted to paint something beautiful, which is students like to say, if he wanted to paint something beautiful, that's self-portrait. Yeah. If he wanted to paint something beautiful, there's nothing more beautiful for a person than themselves. If he wanted to paint something beautiful, he would do a self-portrait. No, there's something different. What is the message? Why paint it? Yeah.
Thank you.
Why this kind of sea? Why this perspective? What does it tell us about his feelings? Again, a painting, same as a poem, is a little model of the universe. So you can see, what does it tell about the universe? Is it a dangerous place? Is it a happy place? Is it a dark place? Is it good for people or is it alien? For instance, just to ask some easy questions. why these colors, why not some other color? Why do we have that little rock here and not there, and why? How does it draw our eye? How does our eye move when we look at the painting? What do we see? What is the relation between lines and shapes and spots? Because then it's interesting. We did it a few times. You start seeing, the more you look at it, you see the connection between different lines. And it's not just a structural connection, like, oh, okay, I have a line like this here, so I'll have a line like this here. It's a logical connection. The objects painted there would be connected, and they will, like, again, if you have a figure of a person repeating the outline of a mountain, then the person is like a mountain. That's what the picture says. Or if someone wears the same color as, I don't know, a tree, then that person is like a tree. You see the connection, which is more than just structural.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. You need to be a bit of an expert on everything, I guess. Yeah, more questions?
I might be asking a question that someone else is thinking of. So we use this poetry written by grown-up men for grown-up people. Can we use a poem written by grown-up men to grown-up people when teaching children? And vice versa, can we use children poems to work with adults?
Sure we can. Again, the meaning is in the eye of the beholder. And very often in the simple, childish poetry, you find very deep layers of meaning because, well, if it's a real poetry for children, it's really more difficult than adult poetry, because adult poetry is all the same. Love, death, I'm unhappy. Oh, I see a beautiful flower. I'm unhappy again. Not many subjects, really. But if you look at poetry for children, it's much bigger and it's much more complicated because you have to put it in very simple words, very simple stories, and still it has to be really dramatic. So yeah. More. I want more. We have another minute or so. We can have another 10 minutes. More.
What are your favorite poems for children that you can recommend to analyze?
Poetry for children. Wow. I like one person's poetry, but I think it's only somewhere online. If I send the link here, it will disappear after we finish, doesn't it? It doesn't save.
It sort of disappears because, but we have a recording of what's happening, so it stays as part of the recording, and then I can probably email it to all of us.
Or maybe I can send you now a link to my Contacti page, if it opens. Maybe that would be easier, because I just have this poetry on my Google desk. Okay, that would be my Contacti. So if you're interested, so he is nice. Of more famous people. Again, there aren't many people who write for children, really. We had a look at Milne recently, and we found out that he was quite not for children. And who else? Well, Dr. Seuss, if you can discuss him, but he doesn't have like short poetry. Children. Maybe, I don't know, maybe just some nursery rhymes. Again, they're not really for children. They're quite creepy. Okay, people say we need to finish. So anyway, that's my link to my Contactee. Copy it before it goes. And if you like, you can contact me there. More questions? No problem.
Yeah, but thank you very much indeed on behalf of everyone in this session, Margot, and we really enjoyed that. I think it was a nice way to explore poetry and what poetry can tell us about ourselves and the world outside or the world inside. So thanks again for taking your time with us. Thank you to everyone for your participation. It was really nice. And let's stay in touch. You know my email. I have your group's email, and I might send some more messages to you as we approach the end of the semester. But that was our last meeting in the semester. Thank you very much indeed, and see you all in semester 2.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Well, thanks for coming.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Sleep well.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Ta-da. And then they all disappeared.
Sort of like 10 little Indians.
Into the magic void.
Which is, yes, which is something that we might appreciate. Okay, let me just see whether we can stop this recording, whether I can stop it.